Andrew Watt, our district director, likes to think of pathways as a giant filing system in the cloud. I don't argue that with him because everything is there. All our learning materials are there. All our records for what we've been doing are there. All the tutorials for questions that we might have and things we haven't yet learned about pathways is there. Everything is there. I see it a little differently maybe than he does in that I still visualize standard filing cabinets up in this cloud defying gravity. Everything is up there as well. Each club has a drawer. Within that drawer, each member has their own file. And each file is partitioned into information that the Basecamp manager can see and things that the Basecamp manager cannot see. The Basecamp managers have access only to the members' educational transcripts. That's all. Dual members have a special drawer between their two clubs. It's narrow, files may go in and out versus laterally. Both club Basecamp managers have access to the files in that middle drawer, but only one club can use it at a time. So if you go to look for a member and the other club's Basecamp manager is using it, or they logged out with the old club as their preferred club, you won't be able to see them, and we'll cover that a little more later. I want to use the trunk of the tree as my second metaphor. We're going to start at the bottom. We're going to stay focused on the club of the tree, work our way up, work our way through granting a member a new level award at TI. So that's our program tonight. I'm going to share my screen with you. This slide pack was originally developed by Heather Turner, one of the incredible members of District 53. She left for New Hampshire, relocated up there, and then we needed a division director. We begged her to come back, and she's taking on Division A now. So it's great to have her back home. But I asked her for this, and she asked me to update it and expand it for anything that had changed since February. So I've done that. I also came across this note. I'm not sure where I saw it, but they're going to put out additional Basecamp tutorials between October and December. I don't know if this covers Basecamp Manager. It doesn't sound it by the way they wrote it, but if they're going to do Basecamp, they may do Basecamp Manager as well. So keep your eyes out for more information there. We log in typically, our name, our password, select pathways, go to Basecamp. Because you're a VPE president or secretary, you get this additional button at the bottom of the middle tile where you can log in as Basecamp manager. If you're in more than one club, above that in the white button, you'll see the clubs. It's a drop-down menu. I'm in 3 clubs, so I have to make sure I'm picking the right club if I want to be working in that club. Once that's selected, click on Log into Basecamp Manager, and this is your home page. Pending requests, member progress, manager tutorials. This part up here always appears when you get to your home page. This is a live link here that will take you to the Basecamp Manager tutorial inside this tile. So it's a good one to, you can just click on it or you can click on the tile, doesn't matter. Now you can visit the Pathways start page. This is the start page. You can pick whichever one you want. If you want to go in just as a member and work on your own things, then you have to select that upper button. Still make sure you're selecting the right button up here for the club that you want to be working in, and then click on Go to Basecamp. If you're working on your own stuff, this is the new home page for your personal Basecamp. This has changed from the old one. It has your leadership curriculum down here. You can click on these and go directly to your curriculum in Pathways. It's a little faster. It has your speech evaluations. These are private tutorials and resources. You're going out to find those. And your paths, basically, if you click here, you're going to get here. Since 2/3 of us haven't filed an education award this year, you're not used to this email yet, but one day along the way here, out of the blue, you're going to get this email, and it's going to be telling you that you have a member in a club, one of your clubs or your only club, who wants approval for a level, and you need to go address the pending request. So you have to take action here. Those people want their levels approved right away so they can put them behind them and move on to the next thing. So you go back to your Basecamp Manager homepage, click on Pending Requests, and it will open this page. It has your member's name here, the path that they're working in or want approval for having finished. Completion will always be true, and it'll put a date on there. You can either approve it with the green check mark, or you can deny it with the red X. The green check mark, if you're up to date with your records as a VPE, you'll know that they've done things okay and you can okay it and approve it. But maybe you've been away for a couple of weeks or you've missed a couple of things and you're not quite sure. You can either deny it or you can pass it on to your president and ask them to approve it or deny it. If they're not sure what to do, they'll pass it on to the secretary. So that's the tiering there. VPE, president, secretary. If nobody is sure and wants to approve it, the secretary will send it back to you. And that means you're going to have to get together with your member and figure out what your differences are about this. It could be that you don't think they've completed it properly. It's hard to know till you look into it. If you're going to approve it, you click the green check mark. That approves it only in Pathways. And you have to click submit down here at the bottom. But then you have to go back into Toastmasters, leave Pathways, and go to Club Central under Leadership Central and submit an education award. Click on that button. This will bring up two drop-down menus. The member names are in the top one. I want you to drop down the menu and pick the member for whom you're going to award a level. And then they want you to pick the program. And it will be always the next one that they qualify will be on the top. Below that will be some older legacy things, and that's about it. These things are important because what came up last week was that some people would go to award in a level 5, and they'd look, and the only thing in the drop-down menu, let me see if that next screen does it, yep. The only thing down here was level 2. It wasn't level 5, it was level 2. And they couldn't quite figure out what had gone on. The way this works is you can now work in any level on any project at any time. You're no longer restricted to the tiering of level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can do anything, anytime you want. We think that came about because veteran members were migrating over from the legacy program, and they were already club officers and doing roles in the district, and they had to give their icebreaker and their level 1 speeches. And if they were current officers or doing district things, they couldn't get credit for them. So they looked at that and changed it and just let everybody do it at any time. but you have to file your awards sequentially. So if you've done level 1 and gotten credit for it, and you do level 5 and finish that and want credit for it, you will get credit in Pathways, but level 5 will not be here at TI until you fill in level 2, 3, and 4. And then level 5 will next appear. So a little confusing, but that's the way it works, and we've got to deal with that. Just got to sort of remember it. Submit the award if it's there to submit to, and you'll get a notice that it's been successfully put in, and what do you want to do now? Go back to Club Central or submit another award? Well, what happened in July for my home club was that we had someone finish 3 levels. They had done that at different times through May and June, but they hadn't been filed for at TI, only at Pathways. They thought they were done. The VPE did, so they weren't getting credit there. So when we went to look at that, those 3 awards were available. We had to fill in level 2, which he was qualified for, and then go back, submit another award, submit level 3, and then submit level 4. So that can happen too. They will send you a confirmation email. Every now and then, we're going to file an award accidentally. We didn't mean to click on that. My mouse slipped at the last minute and I picked a different one. At TI, this is not a big deal. At Pathways, you can't do anything about it. It's the permanent record. And the best thing you can do in Pathways is to do the work that would have given you that award and then move on. But at TI, you can call them up. You can send them an email here with this link, or you can call up Education Awards and tell them what happened, and they'll take it away and restore it to how it should be. So you can fix it in TI, you can't fix it in Pathways. All right, the preceding was your basic Basecamp Manager navigation. You're going to use this 90% of the time. We stayed on the central trunk of the Pathways tree so we didn't get lost. We awarded a member a new level in the most efficient manner at our disposal. All the records within Pathways have been updated automatically, and this virtual filing system holds records accessible by both members and Basecamp managers, with some restrictions on the Basecamp managers for privacy. We learned that these basic steps will handle, I'm guessing 90% of the time, this is all you need to do. If you don't use the tracking part of Pathways, and we're going to talk about that next. Are there any questions on this part of it? And I'm going to unshare my screen, but I got to move my window here. Okay. If any questions, just put up your blue hand. If everyone's been able to find their blue hand.
He's gone. Oh, yeah. I let somebody borrow. Oh, we'll have it back in the November.
Okay. Dave, you have a question? No.
I think there's some questions in the chat box.
All right. I think I answered Dave's question. They're not, you can't see question 5. His question is, if a member completes level 5 ahead of other levels, how do you select level 5 in TI if they are shown in order there? You have to wait for them to finish the previous levels. They have to get approval from you as a VPE that's been approved, and then you can go to TI and award them that level. But until they can get awarded level 5, they have to fill in the previous ones. What documentation will you be able to review to confirm they met the criteria? Sorry if I missed that point. We haven't gotten to that point because that's in part 2 here. That's where we go out on the branches of the trees and discuss a number of ways that you can stay up to date on what your members have been doing. If there's a question on a level approval or denial, wouldn't it be prudent just to reach out to the member first before passing it around to others and show the member you are actively working on their request. It also shows your engagement as the VPE. I'll take the opposite point of view there in that your president may know what's going on. They should be up to date on things. The VPE should be updating them, and it shouldn't come as a wild request out of the blue for them to approve it. There is the chance that they don't know. The secretary might know. Secretary does attendance. Secretary might be able to do that. So that's why it makes the rounds. The member is none the wiser until the VPE has to go back and ask them what's going on. Nobody seems to know what's going on. And it really shouldn't get to that situation. So, and it all depends on how casual friends you are. If you email during the week to each other and you're good friends, bring up the question. If it's a new member and you don't know them well yet, still might want to have a chat with them. Your point's well taken, I understand it, but I think it ought to go through on the interior before you cast doubt on them, because that's basically what you're doing. You're saying, I'm not confident that you've completed everything properly, and I want to talk to you about that. That puts them on the defensive, perhaps unnecessarily. Yeah, okay. And Ruth's question, will you get the notice that someone wants something approved or that someone has been awarded something? They will both come in your regular email of record at TI for your VPE office. This came up last week too. Will TI consider changing this so that they don't have to be awarded sequentially? No, there's no chance that will happen. It's fraught with problems as it is, allowing you to work. Imagine somebody in your club who's a veteran member who's starting 2 new paths now. They've been in the legacy program. They took the summer off and now they're starting in 2 paths. And they want to work in level 1, level 5, level 3, level 4 in both paths. You've got to keep up with that somehow. And that can be a real nightmare. We try to get our new members just to do it sequentially. But the veterans, there are situations where they have to balk at that. Another year or 2, that's going to settle down and won't be an issue anymore. But it is right now. And that's probably why they won't change it, because they might be able to do something else. How do I award the speech? That was Ken Pennick. Can you clarify that, Ken?
Yeah, I missed the part where you were in the approving the pending requests.
Yeah.
And then you went out someplace to award it to them. I missed where you went after that.
Okay, you close out of TI, of Pathways, get out of TI. Pathways and Toastmasters can't talk to each other. They don't know what is happening in the other place. So you close out of Pathways, open up traditional TI and go under Leadership Central and Club Central.
Okay.
And that will give you your club. If we have time at the end, we'll do this live.
Okay.
And then under Club Central, you want to put Submit Education Award.
Okay.
There'll be a drop-down menu. The only person not on your menu will be you. You cannot award yourself a level.
What? What's up with that?
What, you want to change that rule too? We can change that rule too. Yeah, you got to get another option.
I would never cheat or anything like that. What?
And it wouldn't be cheating most of the time.
Okay. All right. Yeah, now I found it. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Appreciate that.
You can save the chat questions. You can save this whole chat dialogue here by down at the bottom. There's the ellipse again on the very right side. And that ellipse will give you a drop down to save chat at the very top. You have to do that. You should do it at the end of the meeting when all the questions are in. Anybody know anything better about how to do that? It saves it as a file, puts it on in a special folder on your desktop. All right. I'm going to continue sharing my screen. Have I done every question? Do I have blue hands up? I do. Daniel Broder, you still have a question?
Yes, will these presentations be emailed to us?
If you send me your email address, I will send it to you. Yeah,
Wonderful, thank you.
sure. And Tatiana have a question?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Can you have one member on two different paths at the same time and then hopping around in between those two
Yes.
different levels?
Yes, you can do it simultaneously.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know anybody yet to go crazy, but it's coming. So, you know.
Okay.
Filing system, so you got to go through my screens. Lisa Shaw.
Sorry, I forgot to take my hand down. You answered, I asked it in chat.
Okay. Okay. Nancy Delane, you have a question?
I do, and it's a procedural thing. You said to send you an email. What's your email address?
It's in the chat window, and I'll also have it on the last screen of the presentation.
Yeah, I don't have it in my chat window. I start with the hands.
Okay. Okay, yeah. But yeah, the thing about the chat window is if you join the meeting later, if it's already in chat, you won't see it.
That's true. So what's your email address?
It's on the agenda as well.
It is on the agenda. Yeah. Do you have that?
Yeah, somewhere in here I've got that.
I resist saying my email because it's hard to spell Versadex correctly. And Dave Yutzler, you have another question.
Yeah, it was just a follow-up to the other questions I've been asking about the out of order.
Oh, yeah.
If we have to wait for that member to finish the earlier levels before they're awarded, before the level they finished is awarded, then that also means we have a delay in education credits, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, the only credit that goes on,
work that into and
your,
understand.
the only thing that goes on your DPR is credits awarded at TI. However, your level 5 that you completed, maybe your level 4 completed, will sit in Pathways forever. You'll
Right.
never lose that, and it's just waiting for you to fill it in. So you can get a slew of things. If you did a level 5 and then filled it in, you could get, you know, four point credits on the DPR and be very happy. But it takes a long time and there's nothing happening in the meantime.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Is that all the questions? I think so. Can't see everybody. Okay, back as Basecamp Manager. This is our home page. We have covered pending requests. We want to look at manager tutorials. This is similar to what Navigator serves the purpose for if you're a member. It tells you how to get around, gives you information about how to do things. Sits over here in this upper left corner. You should come back and refer to this often. There's a lot of information in here, but too much to absorb all at once. So make it a habit to come look in here once a week and pick a topic to read about. Each topic or each tile has drop-down links, and you can look through all these and pretty much figure out what's going to answer your question. And then click on that. When you do, that link will be automatically put into your Basecamp, your personal Basecamp, so that you don't have to come back here and look it up again. And after a while, you'll have a collection of them in there. I have 6 or so in mine, and there's no way to get rid of them that I'm aware of. They're always there. So just kind of get used to them. Your curriculum, your current paths will always be at the top of the list in Basecamp. So it's really not a big deal. But okay, we've done pending requests and manager tutorials. Now we want to look at member progress. And this is where we have to leave the trunk of the tree and go out on the branches, if not into the twigs and leaf clusters that are there. And it can get a little confusing. We can get ourselves lost and have to hit the home button to get out of it again. Now, if you heard me last week when I talked about this, I'm not a fan of the record keeping in Pathways. This was a program developed for business that was adapted for Toastmasters. I don't quite get the point of most of these graphs. You could do these much clearer, much better with an outside tracking program that we'll talk about. First thing you do want to do if you want to look through these and get familiar with them, because you may absorb information very well this way. I don't. So I need another way of getting the information, but you have to refresh your screen. And that will refresh from whenever you were last in here and refreshed and give you something new. And then you hit this second little arrow here, and that will give you view details. You'll see your last refreshed notice down here. You might as well go get a cup of coffee while this thing is refreshing, because it can take 3 to 5 minutes to refresh all 5 of these graph topics over here on the left. And again, I'm not a fan of them. I'll leave it at that. This is a report. One way of generating it tells you who is working in what paths and what they have done so far. Their full username is here. It's been blacked out, but that way you know who they are, what path they're working in, how far they've gotten. This was Heather's back well before District 53 launched Pathways. This was back in the February preceding May. So she was just in progress. She had just opened it to get the screen to put together this slideshow. Another path type, this will tell you everything. Now, there's only one person in her club that she's dealing with here, so that's why there's so little for lines. If you had a group of 12 people in your club, you'd have 12 lines here representing all of your members. Oh, this was a good point too. We got into this question last week. Elizabeth Reed helped us on this. This graph will tell you whether you're working online or working in paper. Not too many are working in paper, but they're keeping it available. They're making more paths available. So it'll be around, and you need to know that as a VPE as to how to keep touch with them and help them. It works more like the old CC and CL manuals. How many members selected this path in the past month? I'm not really sure why we want to know that, unless you're looking for distribution of paths in your club. In my Speakeasy club, we have all 11 paths being undertaken at this point, but not every club is going to do that. And what do we do with that information? It does tell you who may be working in that path and might be a bit of an expert on that path. External training, I didn't touch. There's 2 types here and they get confused. One is doing a speech at another club, which if you're a dual member and you're doing a speech as a member of the other club, it doesn't even come into play. You're just a member of the other club doing a speech. External training refers more to when you might want to go out. We might have opportunities in Toastmasters to go out to the Rotary clubs and give a speech to Rotary. We want credit for doing that. We need to take an evaluator with us, if not a timer as well, but the evaluator can be the timer. But you have to have an evaluator there and they have to give you a written evaluation. So that's a little, you got to coordinate that. People will want to coordinate that with you as VPE, not so much as president or secretary. This is in my VPE slide pack, and I forgot to put it in the Basecamp Manager one last night, and I got called on it. How about the Pathways Achievement Record? This is a new thing they've put out. It's only $15. It's pre-punched for a 3-ring binder. So I have ours in a 1-inch, that's the 1-inch binder, really small. And it gives you all of the information that the Pathways records would give you with a lot less navigating online. So let's take a look at how this works. It has 3 sections. The first one is just getting a hold on what member is working in what path. So your roster goes down the left sidebar here, and all of the paths are across the top. So if a member, let's say Bob is working in engaging humor, you just put a check mark there. He might be working in a second path or even a third path. Some people are doing 4 only because levels 4 and 5 tie up a lot of time, and they still want to give speeches. They like the speaking part of it, so they want to be able to do levels 1, 2, and parts of 3, which don't require as much preparation or time commitment as 4 and 5 might. Second page is the paths specifically. So visionary communication was way over here on the right. And now we're going to look at that path specifically, and we're going to say that Bob was working in visionary communication as well. So his name goes here. And then as he completes the various requirements of each level, which are across the top, you put in the date that when that was done. And you go all the way across and keep track of that. And the final one is the individual member record. Member name at the top, the path name. If there's multiple paths, put them all. And you may need, you're going to need a second page of this if you have multiple paths. When did they do their icebreaker? What was the title of that? What was the date? And what officer observed them doing that, if not the VPE? And you fill that out all the way down. So at any time, before we got kicked out onto Zoom, we were thinking we would just bring this to our meetings and update it during the meeting. So the VPE didn't have to do anything after the meeting. Well, then we got Zoomed and we got on to other things, and we only sort of got back to it. I think Sarita in my home club has something similar to what I'm going to show you next, but this works. I thank Judy for reminding me that I had left this out. This is what I used when I was VPE for 2 years, 3 years ago. Roster down the left side. I put the date they joined. That's good information to have. You can put all kinds of columns in here for trivia. This I happen to have working on speech number because that was important that year for some reason. All the meetings for the year go across the top. And you don't have to fill it all out at once. You can build it as you go, because these columns can change width if you have to put more information here. I color coded them. I had green if they attended. This was doing the president's role. This was an evaluator role. This was a speaker, but not a manual speech, so it's not orange like these are. They were a table topics master, table topics speaker. You can come up with your own, whatever works for you, and have a key that goes there. We tracked attendance this way with the green blocks and the white blocks. If they didn't tell me they weren't coming, I put nothing in their block. But if they told me they were going to be away because they had to do something, then I gave them credit for at least letting me know. But you can come up with your own. I can send you a little snippet of our spreadsheet that will have the active things on it, and you can just build one from there. This is very different than this one up here. You have to actually look and read this one. This one sort of intuitively tells you what's going on. Here's our table topic speaker winner in magenta, just to keep track of are they winning this multiple times? Things to keep track of. I had a blast doing this. You got to be a numbers person to want to do this, but I really enjoyed doing it. All right, what if a member belongs to 2 clubs? We've touched on this a little bit. If they're a dual member logged in at their other club, you cannot see them or their stats in your club's Basecamp. The Basecamp manager of the other club can see their records. If they log out and leave themselves logged into that club, you still can't see them until they change their login club to your club. So you're going to have to stay in touch with them, be in contact. If you don't see their name, what'll happen is you'll try to look at your roster and their name won't be there because they're taken away by the other club. Ask them to switch it to your club and then try again. You won't be able to view some private Basecamp information, but really as the VPE role, you don't need to. There's nothing there that is that important. But you can see the time they spent looking at a project just to see if they engaged with it sufficiently. And we'll get to that screen in a minute and what sufficiently might mean for different members. So here's a little checklist. This is long and wordy, but I wanted it in the slide deck so you can have it and you look back through this. For members, go back to Pathways login page, select the club you want the Basecamp manager to see and log in. Go to your uncompleted level in Pathways and complete that level and send a request for approval to the VPE. For Basecamp managers, you'll get that notice. Look at the members' transcript records, approve any pending requests, complete step 2 at TI if you're going to approve them. It's under Club Central and submit awards when they're ready, when you're ready to do that. You can't submit your own award, another officer must do it for you. We had that before. Good to remember though. Tracking dual members, these are just some memory joggers here. Pathways doesn't care which projects gets credited to which club. It's not paying any attention to that. Pathways only tracks the project and level completions for each member. That's all they care about. Both clubs can make note of ongoing progress using other tracking systems, and the member needs to keep both clubs' VPEs updated. That's how that will work. When a level's completed, the member must elect which club they want to give the award to. The club's VPE then files the award at TI, and that award then shows up on that club's DPR, the Distinguished Performance Report. That's your dashboard, part of the DCP, Distinguished Club Program. You can get into a member's transcript 2 ways. You can search for them by name, or you can search through the View Team button. Heather likes to do it by name. She would type in the member's number up here, and that would give you a drop-down photo actually, and a meme under it saying who you are. You click on that, and that will take you to their home Basecamp. So this is I put Steve in there, but I actually overrode somebody's name. This is somebody's record. I suspect it's hers, but I'm not sure. Go to transcript. A lot of people get messed up with this. It will open with Basecamp profile. That's not what you're looking for at this point. You're looking for their transcript. So make sure you look up here and click on transcript so that it's underlined, and then you'll get this screen. You can look at dynamic leadership. Oh, let's do this. Heather likes to do this. This is an ellipse right here. You click on that, you get a drop-down menu. You can run your report a couple of different ways. She's going to run it as a transcript report within the Pathways program. You have to answer a bunch of questions about how you want that to be put out for you, and then click on Run the Report down in the lower right corner. That seems like a lot of busy work to me. But you get this very extensive report, very well filled in with dates and what's completed and what's not. I prefer to do it a little easier. I think this is mine versus hers. That's her up here. Let's see. Maybe she's just going to open more stuff here. Open the curriculum. This is what she's done so far. She's gone through level 3. You can view details that will tell you about what's been going on, how far along she is, and then you can view the training details. And this is important for you as Basecamp manager. This is where the accountability comes in. So it will give you this. There is very little up here that means anything. Training hours always is 0 for some reason. I don't know why. But down below, it tells you what their progress is and how long they were engaged with the project in Pathways. Now, Heather's a multiple DTM. She's done these speech projects many times, and she doesn't need much refreshment each time she goes through these. So 21 minutes is probably pretty accurate and sufficient for her for this project. But if this were a newbie and this was a evaluation and feedback project, this might really need to take 40 to 50 minutes. So this is part of your evaluating that pending request. It only took them 21 minutes. I heard their speech. I didn't think it was very well organized, and I didn't think the content met the project requirements. I'm not sure I want to approve this. And that's where that working through the other Basecamp managers starts to come into play. You do have ultimate authority, but you might not want to use it. You might want other people's opinions of how it came across. Here in level 5, she hasn't done anything yet, so nothing has happened. So that's the end of Heather. She has to fill that in to get that button over here to send the pending request. So this is how I do it. I go to my Basecamp profile. As opposed to, remember this said transcripts on the other one, and it will, but this is at Basecamp for me. This button becomes available, View Team. And I like the View Team button because all you have to do is click on it and it will give you your entire roster down the left-hand side. Now, you might have more than one page of members and you have to scroll down. If that's the case, this Done button, when you want to get out of this Done button is at the very end of the last page. So you have to scroll down to get out of it, even though you want to maybe look at a couple of these beforehand. Another little anachronism in Pathways, the Done button can be obscured if there's more than 10 or 11 people. See how this is grayed out? This is grayed out because the program wants you to make a decision over here. Who do you want to look at on your team? We're going to look at me. So this is my Basecamp homepage. These are my 2 paths that I'm working in at the moment. Remember the tutorials that we went to for Basecamp managers? These were things that have been moved over because I looked at them. So now if I want to go look at them again, I can just go check that out. Open curriculum. You can see that I've completed level 1 and level 2 in dynamic leadership. And I haven't really started anything on level 3. If I click over here, instead of open curriculum, I get the same report that I would have gotten had I gone through multiple steps Heather's way. Gives you the same information of what's completed, tells you who's doing it, but this one is specifically by that member that you looked at. So I prefer using the View Team button and working through it that way. It's a little faster. This came up, I discovered this about 6 months ago. Nobody knew what this was all about. The cogwheel on the left is where your account is. You click on the cogwheel, it says your account. You click on your account, it takes you to preferences of your account. And this is where you select the dates of functionary roles you've taken in the meeting. When you do this and then save down at the bottom, it will take you to your Basecamp profile. So it's a triangular arrangement and it's very weird and it's not intuitive. You have to learn this and remember it because this is where the dates of your performing those roles show up. They don't show up on your, I guess they do still show up on your account, but this is where you're likely to see them is in your own Basecamp. So review Basecamp Manager often. If you have any confusion or questions, go back there. The answer is there somewhere. and learn as much about it as you can, as much to prepare the next VPE for succession. We're going to start talking about that in February and March. So maybe have them, have a couple sessions with you and get familiar with it, so it doesn't all come up at once in the spring. Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen for the moment. Do we have any questions? We have one. Nancy Delane. Nancy.
My apologies, I forgot to put my hand down. So you
Oh.
answered it.
Okay.
I will lower my hand. Whoops.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go. Any other questions? It's a bit overwhelming. I'll answer some questions for you. I would stay away from the graphs in Pathways and figure out what kind of exterior tracking system you want to use. It could be anything, it's up to you. You can make up your own, but you have to be able to know at a moment's notice what every member of your club has accomplished to date. If you can't do that, your tracking system is not working. So keep figuring it out, what's the best way to do it. Scott Davis. Hi,
Yeah.
Scott.
Hi, can you see your record as the base camp manager? I guess you can see that based on as a member. So
Well, you would
as
see,
a member, you can see yourself.
you would see your own as a member. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's two ways for a base camp manager to look at their own homepage. Yeah. Yeah. Dawn has a question.
Yes, I'm sorry, I did not write down the number of the slide, but you were talking about some pre-printed materials that would cost $15.
Okay.
Can we print those ourselves without paying that cost?
No, and I don't believe so. The only reason I say that is it's like 40 pages long, and that would, a lot to do. And I don't know, when you download it, it doesn't seem to be, the gray lines, the divider lines in those forms is very light. I don't know if that's deliberate on their part or not. And I would order, if you're going to do that, I would order 2 packages, because the one page, that front page, there's not multiple pages of it. So, and you can't copy it very well. So what are you going to do? I mean, you could do it freehand. You don't have to do that. But I did. I ordered multiple. I ordered them for all 3 of my clubs, and then I got an extra one somehow as a, little insider promo or something. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Does a dual member give credit to both clubs for their level of completions? No, it can only go to one. That's why that middle divider drawer is there. You have to pick your point, but until you go to TI, they're both, it's your record in Pathways. It's neither club's record, it's your record. The club is monitoring your activity and it knows what you're doing, but it's your record to do with what you wish. You can give it to either club. Does that answer that? Whose question? That was Elizabeth Brooks. Did that answer that, Elizabeth?
Yes, but I had another question following that.
Go ahead.
And that was, if a dual member is just working on one path, would they be able to split up their levels, or should they work on 2 paths and one at one club and one at the other?
Okay, here's the new thing that I learned that I may need some help making clear. If you're working 2 paths in the same club and you complete, let's say, level 2 in one path, and then complete level 2 in the other path, you only get credit somewhere once. You don't get credit for that second one on your DPR. You get credit. You completed it, you get credit, but your club does not get DPR credit on the report card. It's just ignored. Does that answer?
Well, almost.
Okay.
But I guess my question is, if the member gets credit for level 1 at their first club, can
Yeah.
they then get level 2 credit at their second club and level 3 credit at their first club?
Oh, yeah, you can go back
Yes.
and forth as much as you want. You just have to be clear when someone files your award that it's going to the club that you want it to. It's all about doing the correct amount of work. So you still have to do it. You could give the same speech in your second path if you wanted to in the same level, because it's a different project. It's a project in a different path. So as long as you every project that you get credit for has to have a speech associated with it. So as long as you're doing that, you really can't mess up. Does anyone know if there are any further, more complicated rules on that they'd like to speak about?
Steve, this is
Yeah.
Judy Hardy.
Judy, yes.
Yes, it is possible if you've received level 1 at your home club, you only belong to one club. I got level 1 last year. So I'm working level 2 and 3, etc. in that path.
Yep.
I have started a second path. So I cannot get a level 1. I can get a level 1 because my level 1 was recorded last year. This year, I can get a level 1 in a second path.
But I still think you can get your personal credit for both level 1s. It's just that your club only gets credit for one.
Yes,
Okay?
but you can earn a couple of different, you can earn an additional level 1 this year.
Yes. Yeah.
You cannot earn.
Yeah, but if you wanted to get credit for your club again for another level 1, you'd have to wait till next year. There's no point in doing that. Your club's going to fill in anything that you don't, but you're getting personal credit, and that's the important thing. So, yeah. Lisa Schaub, you have a question?
Yeah, so I think I'm just confused though, because based on her initial question, so in other words, if you have a member who's a dual member, they belong to 2 separate clubs.
Yeah.
And they're simultaneously doing 2 separate paths.
Yeah.
What you're saying is if they do level 2 on one path at one club, they can't get credit for the level 2 on the other path at the second club.
I'm not saying that.
Okay, because that's what I was hearing.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's dual clubs versus just.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
You're a paid member at both clubs.
Right.
That you have your own pathways, route in both clubs. So you will get credit.
Okay. Thank you.
Have I covered all the questions? Anybody have any in chat that I've missed? I'm not so good at scrolling these. Here's one from Valerie. The main thing for me is that members are adverse to going to the site at all and them getting in the habit of using the website to go through to complete and check off projects. Valerie, can you clarify that a bit for us?
Basically, that's it. I mean, there are people who just, when it was rolled out, it was like difficult. So, and then I think other people hear that. Well, and some people are just tech averse at all, totally anyway. And so it's just a big education process, and some people are still confused.
Let me see if I can clarify. You mean they're skipping the pathways part as far as completing the project so that it shows up in their base camp, and they're just doing the project and hoping the VPE will go right to TI to award it? How did they get awarded?
Well, you know, the first year, like our club made it easy, so we were tracking ourselves. And then now, since we have to, you know, we showed them how to do it. But there were some people anyway, like I can spend a lot of time with certain members and, you know,
Still don't get it. Yeah.
like teaching them what they need to do, and they're just tech averse, and then, you know, maybe I don't know if they spend the time to just look at it, but just having them, I mean, some people do, but I know there's a part of the club that, yeah, I think they're just tech averse and are not really.
Do you know if anyone in your club still was a Pathways guide?
A guide?
A guide. They introduced Pathways to your club? Is there anyone like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, the last couple, I mean, we did that. We did presentations on it to teach people about it. We try to make it easy for them. Yeah, a lot of education.
Can I stop this screen share here? There we go. Thank you. Have we answered your question at all, or do you want more?
Well, I mean, it just did a lot of education for them. And some people are just, I think, tech averse. And I mean, that's a challenge when everyone's supposed to, you know, go on there to track themselves.
Could you do that as a club? Have your best Pathways person share the screen and show everybody where to go. They can copy it on their screen.
Yeah, well, we decided we'll have to do this multiple times.
Yeah, no, that's true. There's no argument for me that this is very complex, and it takes multiple run-throughs before you start to understand intuitively where you need to go next and what you're actually looking for. Scott, you revised your question. Did we answer it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, how to get to the club roster in Pathways. You're going to the club base camp, which really can be anyone, I think, as long as it's you or the president or the secretary. And you're clicking on that view team button. That's the important button to be looking for. And once you find that, when you click on it, your roster will appear on the left sidebar. And as I said, if you're a big club, it'll be multiple pages and you won't be able to get out of it until you do the done button at the end of the last page. Does that answer that? Dave, does that answer that?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, this is from Zachary. Zachary's going to give us some advice. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, that's my advice is everyone was mentioning the printing of the manuals and paying for them. I just go through every project and save the PDF, and if you want to print it, go for it. But I like to save it in my folder of all my other working documents.
Have you tried the achievement record yet? Printing it?
The achievement
record? I don't think that the one that I showed for TI's version of how to track your members. I don't think you could download it even. Anyway, we'll look into that.
Yeah.
I wish they'd make it available a different way, but it's nice. It's only $15. The club should pay for it. And, even if you're not, sorry. Andrew had a comment about the sorely lacking in our website design. Pathways was built on a business program. It was anachronistic to begin with. And every now and then things will show up that they don't have the ability to change. It'll refer to things as executives. I forget a couple of the others, but they can't change them. They're just there. And it hasn't been good. They are working on it, but it is definitely a long-term thing. Paper option for those people. Sharon say hello to me. I haven't seen you in a while. There you are. What would you want to know about that? How to order it?
Now, this was in response to Valerie, who was talking about tech-averse people. I wondered if they would be candidates for the paper option in terms of doing pathways.
They certainly would be, and a good point. Thank you for bringing it up. The only drawback to that is it costs $25 more than working online. So they got to be willing to pay that. And I have 2 members in 2 of my clubs who don't want to pay that. So they really are not really doing much of anything because it is tech challenging for them. But people can elect to do it. They're coming out with more and more. They started with 5. Don't know what they're up to now for paths being done in print, but it is more money. So that's the trade-off there. And you can go right when you log in, when you go to Pathways, when you're coming into the login part, it will say pick a path for another member. I forget exactly how it's worded, but if you pick that, it will take you to the paper option. And that's worth looking into. It's worth knowing what to say if a member asks you that. So good checking into it. Elizabeth, you have a question.
Yes, Steve, if people do use the paper method, how does the VPE approve their levels and submit for awards?
Okay, well, I'll confess I haven't actually seen one, but my guess is going to be that it works just like the old manuals, where you give a speech, you put in your speech title and your date, and the VPE or another officer initials it to approve it. So it's going to be very much like those were.
But don't you think it won't appear on the Basecamp, on the Toastmasters International side, so you can't automatically see it and prove it?
Well, the member would then go to the VPE and say, hey, I finished this manual and I'd like to get credit for this level. And the VPE would go in at TI, just like a Pathways Award, and grant them that.
They can do that even though the member hasn't done the steps in Pathways online. Hasn't.
It's the purpose of it is to be a substitute. It's
Okay.
not a preliminary thing.
Right.
An actual.
I just thought that was a prerequisite to, getting the email, going into the, I thought they had to do those steps online. So I was just wondered how you can really actually approve projects without a person having done anything online.
Yes.
Okay.
The VPE may have to go in and help pick that path to get it ordered in printed materials. There could be an interaction there that has to happen.
I guess I'd like to see how that approval could be done. I guess I just can't picture it. I'm sorry.
I'll make a note of that because it's a good point.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. See, we have these little discussions, all kinds of things come up that I don't know much about. So, any other questions? Okay, this is directed at me maybe. What if you're part of 3 different clubs? Can you work on the same path at all the clubs? This is from Shaw. Shaw, you want to dialogue with me about that? Where's Shaw? There he is. Yeah. So 3 clubs, there's really not much point in working on the same path. If you're on the same path, you're just in different clubs. Pathways really doesn't know which club you're working on. They don't care. They only care what you're doing as a member. So to be repeating the same path, I mean, it's bad enough that levels 1 and level 2 are the same in all the paths. And you're repeating the icebreaker and evaluation and feedback and research and presentation and leadership style, communication style, and introduction to mentoring. You have to do that multiple times. Every time you go through a path, you have to eventually do that. But there's no point credit-wise. I mean, you still might get credit because you've done that in that club, and they would get credit for that, but you're not broadening your educational base at all. You are permitted to give the same speech in 3 different clubs, though, if that's what you want to do, just so you don't have to write another speech. But again, you're cheating yourself, really, when you get down to it, because it's not all about presenting. It's about learning how to write a great speech eventually. And it really should be as many different challenges as possible. Any other? Oh, we do. I love the questions. Robert, you have a question.
Hi.
Hello.
Just to reflect on Valerie's question, my suggestion would be to have a session like this for all the members, but introducing them to pathways. That would be
yeah. I totally agree. And the best way I've found that to do that is to, someone who knows what they want to present does the sharing of the screen, and everybody else tries to follow along on their own screen.
Yeah.
And forget, just overlay the Zoom part of it for a while and learn how to navigate that way. When we see things done, we learn a lot quicker than when we're told how to do them. So the more we can watch somebody else doing it, the faster we're going to learn this stuff, because it is very complex. It took a long time for people to embrace it, and we lost a lot of veteran members who didn't want to embrace it. They said, this isn't what I want to do. But we found out in my club, we're high on Zoom. We love Zoom because we don't have an alternative at the moment. So we're not, putting our heads in the sand. We're going to say, okay, we're going to learn an entirely new skill set of how to present ourselves on Zoom. How do we do that the best possible way? So a good probably 5 to 10 minutes of each of our meetings is critiquing, as part of the general evaluation report, how our Zoom presentations came off. Did we look professional? Did we look engaged? Were we paying attention? Were we looking up at the camera? That's been my hardest thing. I want to look at all you people in my Hollywood Squares format here and not look up at the camera. And these are ongoing things. And the future is going to be full of Zoom communication. It's going to pop up more and more. And the better we do it, the better our chances for getting what we want when we're doing it. So I think every club should just simply embrace it and to do the best they possibly can. Yeah. And we'll be back inside eventually, but it's going to be a long, long time. So,
yeah.
Is there a PowerPoint or pre-recorded tutorial to navigate through pathways? That came from Dawn again. Yeah, there's several, and there are a lot out there put out by different districts. There are a lot of neighboring districts who post stuff all the time. And it's really a point of finding one that's not directly from Toastmasters. They are very dry and very limited and short on explanations of things. It's best to find one where they've taken that as the skeleton and they've added things into it, usually particular to their club. And it just is it's a richer, more encompassing experience. So you can find them I'll send you one if you'll send me an email asking specifically for that. Automated emails. Oh, yeah. The VPE is the only one who gets the automated emails. The president and the secretary do not. The president may get the awarded email. We've awarded this level to so-and-so. They may get that one because they're in charge of announcing awards to the club, not the VPE. So it's very possible that the president will also get a copy. But the VPE should be pretty much in constant contact with the president about what's going on, who's close to making an award, who's made an award. So it really shouldn't be a lack of communication there. Any other questions? Yeah, we got one from Christopher.
Hey, Steve, a couple of things. I did pull up our base camp during your presentation here. I noticed that I have 2 members that are showing as completed level 1. However, I don't believe they've actually completed level 1. And so they actually have to submit that. And then the VPE or myself will see that it's required approval in the base camp manager, right? And then they have to go verify and approve it. And then that's where you get the award. Then that's where you go into Toastmasters International and approve it then. right? So the member has to submit the request at they complete their level 1.
That's right.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that'll be that's a button down at the bottom of their curriculum report of the projects being completed. All 3 projects should have a tick mark over the title, telling you that they're completed. Then that button should appear in the lower right corner. They click on that, the email goes to the VPE, and then hopefully gets approved and cycled back. Yeah.
And the other thing is, I pulled up our DCP report, and it shows on there that it actually says you're required to have completed the level, or the level completion has to be completed in Pathways and in the Club Central. So they actually end up tying together in the DCP. From what I can tell by the DCP, note in the DCP, that's all.
Yeah, I don't believe that's true.
Really? Okay.
I think you put the award in at TI like you're supposed to, that goes on to your DPR, your distinguished, I keep messing up.
Performance report, right?
Yeah, performance report.
Right, DPR guy.
And it's on there because you've awarded it to that particular club.
Right.
TI and Pathways don't talk. They don't know what's going on one to the other. And really, they don't care. Your file at Pathways is your personal file and your achievements. And when you're ready to do something with them, you can get your VPE to go to TI and make the award.
Right.
It's an
So I just recommend people pull up their reports and look and just make sure that they see it and understand the comment I just made or asked, because it actually says in there, it says all Pathways Education Awards must be submitted in both Base Camp and Club Central. And so I just, I mean, like we said, we're trying to figure out how to merge the two, and we can't. That's all.
And you can't, and they would like them to be accurate separately.
Right.
But it's not
accurately separate. That's a good comment. Accurately separate.
But they would like that. And it does help the VPE, Base Camp Manager, looking at an accurate record that is also reflected at TI. I mean, you want the same things reflected there. So.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Anybody else? I'm at time. We got to let Aki close the meeting. I thank you all for coming, and I hope you've learned a little bit. Send me an email if you want the slide pack. I'll also send you a little snippet of the spreadsheet for tracking your members if you want that. And anything else I think I'll send to you. Oh, I have a VPE slide pack that I used in the June training if you're interested in that. Was that good, Sarita? Was the slide pack in June good?
I really liked it.
It was a pretty good one. Yeah. Let me know you want that. I'll send it to you. All right, Aki, I'll turn things back over to you. Thank you.